Sports Professor Rick Horrow on the record again. Football season just around the corner, and the scene shifts to the big names. We usually pull a friend of mine, Leigh Steinberg. At this time every year, he has so much to add. 41 years in the business, maybe more. Graduates Cal Berkeley with a JD. 1974 was the beginning of his world. 50 years ago, even more. UCLA, he's had 8 number 1 picks, 60 first rounders. He basically started the Jerry Maguire, Cameron Crowe 1996 idea, and everybody says that it's about him. Who can argue that? Bottom line is, Leigh Steinberg, good friend, window into the NFL. Ready for football? We're ready for Leigh. Sports Professor Rick Horrow inside the $1.3 trillion business of sports. We have a surprise. We've got nearly 100 guests who are panelists, who are industry top folks at this CCON, Sports Entertainment Innovation Conference in Vegas. But we didn't expect somebody who has a conference that is clearly seminal for agency, for representation, who stopped by here as a friend. Leigh Steinberg, who is the best, biggest, highest quality, best reputation sports agent ever in history. Jerry Maguire, on and on. We'll talk about that. But he's also the author of the Leigh Steinberg Agent Academy. They have a conference at the same time in Vegas. Hi, how are you? You doing okay?
I'm doing great.
Good. So talk a little bit about the conference, why you're in Vegas.
So after 50 years of representation and being involved in athletics, people go to business school, law school, sports management, and what they learn is the principles of the field. But no one teaches them the specific skill set you need to be successful in sports. And it's listening skills, how to draw out another human being and understand their deepest anxieties and fears and their greatest hopes and dreams. It's the ability to recruit and to get clients. It's the ability to negotiate and clarify your own position and win-win negotiating. It's the ability to brand and market in today's market, to brand yourself and to brand clients, and understanding the multiple platforms of content supply. It's the ability to set up a charitable or community foundation, which makes a difference in the world, and we can position sports in a way where it can attack any societal ill, anything from racism to bullying to climate change. And then we do a crisis control exercise. This year I think we'll take the interpreter for Shohei and ask the agents to put together a press conference for him or for Shohei and figure out how to do it.
God bless you. If you figure that one out, then that ought to be bigger than just your conference.
Well, I said early that Shohei knew nothing about it from my standpoint, and everybody was jumping on him, but I was pretty sure that...
pretty adamant, pretty correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So, at any rate, it's interactive, and what I'm trying to do is create the genesis of a next sports generation. And it's not just agency. You can work for a team, a league, a conference, an athletic department, marketing, branding, PR, event management, facilities management. It's this massive industry, as you pointed out up front, in terms of trillions.
And it's going to be even more trillions in the future as we get more global, the latest TV contract on the NBA that'll trickle to the NFL, et cetera, et cetera. So it sounds like it's more of a, forgive me for using this term, but more of a holistic approach to how to succeed in the sports business. Because it's clearly not focused just on agency, it's focused on all these other disciplines.
It is, and it's giving people the skills they need. So it starts with doing a self-examination, Rick, which many people don't do in life. But how do you feel about short-term economic gain, long-term economic security, family, spiritual values, making a difference in the world? It's a matter of doing an internal checklist and prioritizing what's most important to an individual person, and then drawing it out of somebody else. If you can put yourself in another person's heart and mind, and see the world the way they see it, you can navigate your way through life gracefully.
Very well done, especially in the context of how you have to deal with people who will come to see Leigh Steinberg or a conference as a way, how do I get into business? How do I get a job? How do I make my first million? How do I get on TV? This message is more, not as I said earlier, holistic, but a little more comprehensive than that.
We teach part of this in terms of entrepreneurship. Can you find a new league? Can you find pickleball? Can you find a new technology? Can you find a new app? Can you find something new? Come up with a solution the world doesn't have yet, and then take it from initial funding to a liquidity event. So one of the points I make is that in addition to representing athletes or whatever your primary business is, this is an amazing opportunity for anyone with entrepreneurial skills to figure out how they can do the next greatest mousetrap.
Let me tell you something, everybody. This is not just the next evolution of Jerry Maguire. We all understand that. But this guy helped me structure my life when we tried to figure out how to monetize consulting operations into something that was really an equity position. Exit strategy led to my relationship with Omnicom. So you are really the father of my economic security. Now, not enough to give you a point or two, but the father of economic security. So, Leigh is, my point is, Leigh is incredibly entrepreneurial, and it sounds like the lessons these people are going to learn at this conference are equally entrepreneurial as well.
Well, for example, we're going to teach them about the new revolution in biomed that's changing your ability to get a player at the end of a game to perform at a high level, to stimulate productivity and focus and high performance, the ability to return a player back to service quicker who's been injured. And it's hyperbaric oxygen and stem cells and nanoV and blue, white, and red light, and all these innovations that I'm going to take into professional and collegiate sports to solve problems. And for you and I, longevity and cognitive clarity.
You gonna unlock the secret of how we live longer?
Yes.
Are you really?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. I need to stay close to this guy, no matter what, ladies and gentlemen. Just a couple more. The whole industry. Is it easier now or harder to get the right clients to learn the Steinberg way? By that I mean, we know what it means, but the old Steve Barkowski, all of the guys who were there because they would also do the right thing. Is it harder today?
Yes, because of NIL. We've had 3 events have a confluence. Break down the conference, traditional conferences at the collegiate level, gambling and NIL. Yeah. And together, they're like the perfect storm. No one really thought out the unintended consequences of all this. But with NIL, all of a sudden, instead of me talking to someone who's 21 or 22 with their parents, a high school student is branding himself at age 15, looking for a marketing agent to help him. And I'm not sure that I can get someone to retrace their roots and repay their high school scholarship and their college scholarship and a charitable foundation at 15. Yeah. I mean, they're still, trying to figure out how to clear their complexion.
The do the right thing message, is it easier or harder to do that today when you have a lot of coaches and other forces on the other side saying grab as much money as you can?
You still can find young men with good values everywhere, yeah, who are parented well. The truth is we never needed NIL to be this big. What they needed was to take disadvantaged athletes who were living at a lower standard of living than their non-athletic peers and enhance their revenue a little bit. They've been happy with $5,000 or $10,000, not $15 million. But here we are, and now it's taken over recruiting at the college level, and transfer portal later at the college level. So now it's all about the elevation of 3 or 4 super conferences. They're the haves, and the rest of college sports will be the have-nots.
Final question for you. Where is Leigh Steinberg 5-10 years from now? Because with this new secret to longer life, you're going to be halfway through your life, not 3/4 of the way through. So where are you? All right, 5 years from now, where are you?
Well, 5 years from now, Patrick Mahomes will still be playing.
Yeah, you will. You will. And you'll be carrying his bags, and you'll be doing whatever you need to do with that. But long-term vision.
Long-term vision, health and wellness, trying to make a difference in the world, tackling bullying, tackling racism, tackling domestic violence and sex trafficking, working on the environment with our Sporting Green Alliance program, writing more books, doing more speaking, and hopefully inspiring people that they individually can make a real difference in the world if they try.
I'll be right there with you. Leigh Steinberg, always a good friend and always a good interview. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Leigh Steinberg, great perspective on all things NFL and all things football and all things charitable, frankly. Listen to Leigh Steinberg, it'll do you good. Well, let's look at the first 4, the last week or two, very active in all phases of sports business and sports law. So let's look at the top 4 things. Number 1, the NFL's new dynamic kickoff. Well, look at the last few years, the lowest rate of returns in its 104-year history, with just 21.8% of kickoffs run back. That was last year. By the way, the overtime Super Bowl thriller, the 49ers Chiefs, guess how many touchbacks? 100%. Bottom line is that all 13 went for touchbacks. This year is going to be a very interesting adjustment period. The NFL talking about safety, and the preseason dominated by, some would say, the confusion over the rule. Coaches are smarter than that. They're talking about a learning experience. Some coaches will get it quicker than others, and their special teams will thrive. So that's number 1. Number 2, look at Kevin Durant. He is a pickleball investor owning the Brooklyn Aces, the National Women's Soccer League in 2022, NJ Gotham FC, the Major League Soccer Philadelphia Union, and he's also purchased a number of the entities through Boardroom Sports Holdings and his partner Rich Kleiman. Well, he's been in Paris and he won the gold, but guess what else he did? He bought a minority interest in Paris Saint-Germain, and even though they're losing Mbappe, Messi, Neymar, his glitz, glamour, and expertise will probably add some significant dollars and cachet to that franchise. Good for him, good for his entrepreneurialism. That's number 2. Number 3, downtown stadium in Kansas City. Well, the Royals and the Chiefs are going their separate ways, but the combination is still in everybody's back pocket. The MLB club is now considering Washington Square Park on the southern edge of downtown Kansas City. The voters in April solidly rejected a sales tax measure assigned to the ballpark in the city's Crossroads neighborhood. Now they're looking at other things. In the meantime, the Chiefs are looking at the Star Bonds process in Kansas as an opportunity maybe to get some funding going, with the fallback in both cases around Arrowhead. It's going to be an interesting summer, especially since the current governor term limit, at least in Missouri, and he's saying you better make a decision by January, both of you. And then number 4, the NFL's Bucks were said to reject a $6 billion offer to buy the team. Remember, the Glazer family bought the team in 1995 for what seems to be now paltry $192 million. They sold a piece of the Man U entity. The Rain Group brokered that for $1.6 billion American. The Buccaneers, worth about $5.5 billion, according to Sportico, maybe upwards of $6. Certainly the Josh Harris $6 billion buttressed that bid as they moved forward, and everybody now looking for more. And in Florida, it's not just the Buccaneers. The Dolphins, Ken Griffin, hedge fund owner, Florida resident, was purported to have offered over $10 billion for Steve Ross's Hard Rock investments. He's got a 15-year contract for Formula One. He's got a contract for the tennis facility. The Bucks had the biggest year-over-year value increase of 33%, while the Dolphins second at 29%. So looking at the big four, those clearly are it for the last couple of weeks. What about the next four? Well, number one, private equity targets for NFL and college. First of all, Roger Goodell says because of these high prices for franchises, we don't have a lot of $6, $10, $20 billion bidders floating around. So let's open up the private equity opportunity at least up to 10%. And certainly they're meeting with some of those major firms with great aplomb. Capital Partners, CVC, Dynasty Equity, Carlyle Group, Blackstone, and others. The NFL owners meeting in Atlanta in October had a lot of this as its main theme. The $6 billion Harris sale seems to have expedited that. On the other hand, the WTA, European leagues, Florida State University, the Big Ten with CVC, have all looked at equity partners to be able to bridge their respective financial gaps. We'll see how that all turns out. That's number one. Number two, Premier League looking at their new TV deals. No streaming, but Sky, TNT, Amazon Sports, three broadcasters. The domestic deal grabbed the highlights, the 1.6 billion euro per season rights. Couple of reasons for the 4% increase. Number one, few more extra games in the package. And number two, the Ampere Sports Consumer Survey says that the Premier League is the best in the business at reaching 23% of fans across 14 countries worldwide interested in the Premier League. The bottom line is they're doing a better job of monetizing the interest than almost any other league, hence the higher TV number. Number three, Steve Ballmer, Intuit Dome, $2 billion playground for Steve's intuition. Bruno Mars concert and Steve Ballmer's giant scissor opening the building. Well, the facial recognition technology glitch delayed the entrance by about an hour and a half. But look, in the long term, it's a rounding error, especially when you look at the facility itself. All the seats have electrical outlets, and all are within distance of a T-shirt cannon. Obviously, his idea, along with the 1,160 toilets and urinals, to maximize the fan experience whenever it's happening. Very, very important for him, and obviously very important for the franchise and the building. That's number three. And then finally, number four, sports betting sent about $6.3 million to the educational fund in Maryland in July, the highest transfer since sports betting began in that state. But 97.5% of all sports bets placed, about $325 million, were placed on the online apps. And the sports wagering that began in December 2021 was purported to be all for, or mostly for, educational experience. And boy, it has paid off in droves for Maryland. Well, those were the four before and the four to look for. And we'd like to thank Leigh Steinberg for giving his expertise as America turns to football for this year. And we'd like to thank everybody for helping us put On the Record together. I'd like to thank you all for listening and watching. And join us next week when we join again in the $1.3 trillion business of sports. Sports Professor Rick Horrow. See you soon.